true.
I think they probably did like open fishing for a long time to help clear it out before they drank.
You get like all of your neighbors moving into your house.
Did I just say the right thing? I didn't get much of a response.
I wonder what these people are really thinking about me.
Can't outrun them.
Can't outrun them.
That's tough.
Maybe I shouldn't have laughed so hard at that statement. They might think I'm a bit insensitive.
Humans everywhere are intensely social creatures. We care deeply about how others view us. From an early age, others' judgments affect how we see ourselves. In addition, our successes and failures, the roles we play, and comparisons we make with others come to shape a self-concept, our answer to the question, who am I?
Who am I? I'm English. I am an academic. I'm a rugby player.
Who am I? I'm shy. I'm funny sometimes. I'm nervous.
Social psychologists have studied the cultural context that shapes the emergence of self. People from different cultural backgrounds provide different answers to the question, who am I? Those differences have important implications for how they think, feel, and act. Cross-cultural psychologists Hazel Marcus and Shinobu Kitayama have described how people from Eastern and Western societies differ in the way they see themselves relative to others.
We have distinguished between independent and interdependent construals of the self. By independent construal of the self, we mean a kind of self that is defined primarily in terms of internal attributes which are residing inside the person himself, such as abilities, motives, personality traits, maybe competence, and so on. By interdependent self, we mean a kind of self where social relationship is so much important. One's own identity is defined in respects to a particular kind of social relationship. So in the second type of the self, the role of others is much more important in that it is part of self-definition.
Who am I? I'm a guitar player.
Who am I? I'm Sohyun Kwan, and I am a God's creature, and I'm a student. I am from Korea, and I'm a daughter. I'm a friend of my friends.
Who am I? I am someone who enjoys the outdoors, who is honest, and who is free-spirited, who searches for meaning in life.
Generally, people from industrialized Western nations maintain an independent self-concept. Individuals native to Asia, Africa, and Central and South America possess a more interdependent self-concept. The interdependent self is manifest in group memberships and interconnectedness. One has a greater sense of belonging and gives priority to group goals. One strives not so much to enhance one's individual self as to harmonize with and support one's communities. Being responsible is more important than doing one's own thing. In contrast, the independent self is described as more autonomous, separate, and self-contained. One gives priority to personal rather than group goals. What matters is personal achievement and fulfillment. The philosophy is, do your own thing, stand apart from others.
The minute you enter the world, in order to be a person, you have to engage with a whole set of cultural meanings and practices about how to be. From the first time you pick up a small baby, you pick up that baby as a mom with a set of understandings about what it means to be a person, about what this baby is. And in doing so, you're carrying your cultural understandings and your cultural practices with you.
This distinction between independent and interdependent selves has numerous implications for our thoughts, feelings, and actions. In contrast to the North American tendency toward self-enhancement, East Asian people tend to be self-critical. They are more concerned with becoming better than with being good. This continual effort to improve oneself is an expression of one's sense of belonging, the means by which favorable evaluations are secured from others.
In the Olympic coverage in the United States, when an athlete succeeds, the focus is all on the athlete, and he or she is expected to say, you know, how I got these qualities of mental toughness, or how I got my qualities of physical ability, or how I learned to have the perseverance to keep on training despite all of these obstacles. And the people who are interviewing the athletes in America, they have the same theory of how to be a person that the athletes have, of course, which is that your performance is all about your own push and drive and perseverance and abilities. When you look at the Japanese coverage of the Olympics, very often the people go immediately to the coach and ask, how do you feel after this great victory, before they even ask the athlete herself or himself, who engaged in the activity, who was the winner. But then you have to realize that from a Japanese perspective, the ability itself is a performance that involves connection with others, and a coach and other people are very important in making you who you are.
These differing perspectives have major implications for social cognition and attribution.
While Americans tend to do a lot of dispositional attribution when explaining behavior, that's their default theory when you're trying to explain something. East Asians are much more likely to look to the situation and to bring in the situation in trying to explain behavior, which is interesting because a lot of what we know in social psychology is we're trying to teach that the situation is very powerful, and people who have this more interdependent view of the world seem to automatically know that the situation is powerful.
Research results on cultural differences apply to other areas of feeling, thinking, and acting in our social relations with others. Clearly, the different self-concepts impact many aspects of our social relations, such as conformity and persuasion.
Many phenomena associated with social relationship, such as conformity, persuasion, may well take very different forms depending on the construals of the self people endorse or people implicitly approve in daily life. So, seemed to me that the whole notion of persuasion as influence on somebody else on the basis of one's own belief, this form, persuasion in this form, might be more natural form of social interaction in American daily life. Whereas in Asian societies, social interactions tend to take forms of, say, adjustment. So persuasion, interestingly, may be very much a cultural phenomenon. Conformity, the amount of conformity we observe, depends so much on who other individuals are, especially in Asian cultures. So, for example, the amount of conformity Asians commit tends to be much higher if others are from their own immediate groups than when others are from out groups. But it appears that for Americans, this distinction between in-group and out-group is much less.
The study of culture and the self highlights one of social psychology's important lessons. Individuals and situations interact. Cultural background profoundly influences the emergence of one's self-concept. In turn, our sense of self shapes how we view, influence, and relate to others. We are both products and architects of our social worlds.